Go ahead, Keith, take it away.
Thanks, Meg. I guess I just want to start by reiterating the potential value of having this kind of coalition and team of greater Wilmington area restaurateurs coming together and sharing information and helping each other. It'll take time to foster, but having gone through that process in another community, the value of it is huge. Everything from a plumber, a form, taxes, licenses, processes, all of these questions, helping with equipment, helping with borrowing things. It's amazing what comes out of it, and the potential is huge. Okay, so enough on that. So today, I'm going to kind of scrap what my initial thought was, which is kind of focusing on the dining in and focusing on what's right here in front of us right now, which is the ability to have outdoor dining and start the process. So besides trying to survive, the next thing that we are trying to do, very basically, is restore confidence in the process with our employees and our guests by creating a safe environment. So if we can hang on that when interpreting all of these minutia details of how we're supposed to, as if running a restaurant wasn't hard enough, how we're supposed to operate with all of these protection type guidelines, it will really help in navigating and interpreting them, because some of them you can really get stuck with how the heck am I supposed to do that? And if you can look at it as, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to create a safe environment. And so can I succeed at that in my interpretation of this guideline? If the answer is yes, then it's probably the right choice. Something that I've told my managers for years is any new and weird circumstance that you don't know the answer to, you've got to ask yourself 3 questions. Is it good for the guest? Is it good for the employee? And is it good for the business? If you can answer yes to those 3 questions, it's the right decision. And that really can help muddle, get out of muddling through some of this. So let's dive right in, and I'm going to read through some of the Agency of Commerce and Community Development guidelines to the Be Smart, Stay Safe order, and we'll kind of just talk those through as we go. Who here wants to share a little bit about their weekend to start? Who maybe opened for the first time? Who wants to just share what was dining on the outside, dining outside like for you and your business?
So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we did open on Wednesday. Governor Scott was on the news, but he neglected to mention that he was going to open up dining on Friday evening.
Right.
And we actually we scour the news every night just to see what's going on, and we found out that we were able to open Friday evening. Our hours end early, so we were ready on Saturday. We printed up paper menus. We did what was really cool, one of those little scan things where you scan the menus so you
QR code
do the online order. So we did that, and we sat there with the tape measure, and we measured out our tables, and we were able to get our side deck ready also, but we scrambled. We thought we had another couple of weeks or so. We had, of course, people coming in, but we were down 60% from last year in all our sales, but it was much better numbers this weekend than we had previously had. What we're finding is like our weekday numbers are better than our weekend numbers because we don't have those people coming through. But this weekend we did notice that there was an amazing influx of people coming up for the weekend. So I think that it was mostly second homeowners. There was a couple people that were passing through and just looking for some reprieve, to stop and get some coffee, whatever. We had to open up our bathrooms because it was was inhumane that they had to go to Shaw's or the mobile station to use the bathrooms in downtown. Nobody else was open downtown, so we did open up our bathrooms, and people were very, very thankful for that. Where we noticed the thanks is in the tips. Oh my goodness, and people are so incredibly generous with tips.
Wow.
So we're getting, as a cafe, our normal tip ratio was about 10% or lower, and we're noticing 20, 25% tips now, which is amazing. People are being very kind as far as that goes. But the things that we learned from this whole experience is you're just going to learn as you go. You could put as many things as you want in place. You could do read anything. It's just as you're going along, that's how you are going to learn what is right for your business. So what we did was we set up 3 pickup stations. We have a one-way flow going into the building, and we still have people that come in and want to pay with cash, and people who still come and order at the register. What we learned is we have 3 pickup stations. We have phone orders and online orders, and people come in. Most of the time they wait outside. They're very respectful, and then we still have those people that do want to do curbside. But what we found was that, like I said, you're not gonna. You can put as many things you want into place. It's just as you go, you're gonna keep on changing things, because it's just important that you follow the rules, but yet you're able to accommodate them inside your building or your business. And as far as the outside dining was, it was a huge success, except we did notice that people were bringing food from other places, and it's kind of like a burn, it's like you don't want to say anything because you don't want to be, that kind of person, but it's a burn when somebody comes in with a Dunkin' Donut cup or, sandwich or something like that. So, I mean, we were, as far as like being able to handle it, we only had 4 people working this weekend. Usually on a busy weekend like this, we would have 8 or more. I don't count myself. I'm there on busy weekends. So it's more like 9 or 10 people that are working on a busy weekend. We got away with 4. And like I said, sales were down 60% from a normal Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
And that's my spiel.
Anyone else want to share any details or something they overcame that is beneficial to the group?
I'll mute myself. Steve, did you guys do any outside seating? Let me see if I can unmute you. Can you unmute yourself? It's not letting me unmute you. But I'm just curious if you guys had any outside dining happening this weekend. Oh, wait, we still can't hear you. Can you click your little microphone?
It's on your picture.
Right. There you go. Well, it's not letting me unmute you. I see you talking, but I don't hear you. I can see you talking. I can almost hear you, Steve. In my mind, I can hear you. Can you, you should be able to just go down to the bottom. There's a little microphone and you can just click that. Try again. I also wanted to say to Isabel, I reached out to someone in ACCD through the downtown program just to say, what the hell, we don't really see guidance for restrooms. It doesn't say you can, it doesn't say you can't. It just says that restrooms have to be cleaned according to CDC guidelines, but it does not say that restaurants cannot have restrooms open. I found most of our retail businesses did not feel comfortable opening their restrooms because of the amount of cleaning they felt they were going to need to do. So we were really lacking in restrooms. I think that's something we'll need to work on. And it's something we're, discussing, how do you manage that? And really, what are the guidelines? Because it is a problem in the downtown. Okay, Steve's getting help here. TA.
I'm gonna commend Isabel, but that's a great example of it. There's no clear rule of bathrooms are open, they're not open. She saw a need, it was good for the guest. committing to clean it properly is good for the guest, the business, and the employee. That's a win. We're going to do it. And so interpreting some of these guidelines in the best interest of those three is a good idea. So, all right. What I wanted to do is kind of just read through some of these and then talk about them as we go. So I'm going to start with, again, this is right from the agency, the State of Vermont Agency of Commerce and Community Development, if you want to look these things up. And there's some general guidelines for all businesses, such as employees shall not report to work if they're sick and feeling some of the effects potentially of COVID-19. Employees must observe the 6 feet distancing rule. Also, guests need to as well. Employees must wear face coverings, have easy access to soap and water, all common spaces cleaned according to the CDC guidance. I'm hearing that's at least every 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Prior to the commencement of each work shift, pre-screening and health survey shall be required for each and every employee. Real quick, maybe show of hands. Who's doing that? Isabel, you doing that? Good.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I was just listening to what the governor was saying about the quarantining thing about 14 days.
We did have our largest volume traffic day on Friday, which was about, I'm going to guess, about 60,000 coming into the state on Friday.
Wow.
Versus the week before, which was about
50,000 people.
So it wasn't dramatic
on Friday,
but there is an
coming
increased
through Vermont.
number of people coming into the state. They were.
Okay. All right. So what was the question? I'm sorry.
The mandatory staff health check-in.
We take temperatures.
Great.
At the beginning, we we have our,
it's a mandatory thing. So having that, having that set up, having a check-in sheet, we were able to get a couple of the, forehead style contactless thermometers. But also, if you don't have those yet, having staff commit to taking their own temperature before they come to work and telling you what it is, that's okay. So don't get don't get paralyzed by some of these things. Just come up with a safe way to keep moving forward. So that's another example of that. So signs must be posted at all entrances clearly indicating no one may enter without symptoms. I'm hearing that Meg has these signs available for all businesses. If you don't have that yet, reach out to Meg. She has those.
Look.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. How many of you are thinking of this? All businesses that have closed for 7 or more days during the state of emergency must complete and keep on file a reopening and training plan. That sounds difficult. There's some guidance on there and a template. I think I'm going to probably just skip over that for now. I'm going to move down now into the restaurant specific, which is 7.1 in this document, and try to navigate some of these details. All right. Reservations or call ahead seating is required. That sounds difficult. I run a coffee shop. People don't make reservations for coffee. Does that mean you have to close? I would say no. If someone is coming in and your business is designed for a grab and carry, then that's the way it should be done. Now, if you can connect that to the other piece, which is you've got to have a document that keeps in your guest's record of the visit, then that can be your reservation. So have a customer check in where they write their name and email or name and phone number. that in my mind is a reservation, an immediate reservation, and also your log of customers coming to your establishment. Does that make sense to everybody? Questions on that one?
It makes perfect sense. And as far as reservations, I mean, mine's almost all taken.
Right.
We do have a couple of outside tables, but
Okay.
if they need a reservation, you just put a sign in the door, say, please call, make your reservation for right now, and we'll take your order right now.
Right. So those are great examples of finding a way to succeed with that requirement.
So what I was going to say too is maybe
call
even
and make an immediate reservation, and if you're going to, and that's only if they're dining at any of your tables outside.
And I was going to say maybe just have a notebook, that you have,
Yep.
write the day at the top, and then have them write down their name, their phone number.
We've got a notebook, and we want the employees to write it down so that we know who was in contact with the person.
There you go.
It's in their handwriting, and that way, if there's contact tracing necessary, we know the time based on the shift as to who's working. And if somebody asked about a template, if you get a name, an email, and a phone number, and a date, what more do you need?
Right.
Yep, that's great. So
Almost like a reverse reservation book. You kind of just, when they come, you write them in and then you have them. And I think that will work really well for most, fast casual places where you're not going to like take a reservation. So as long as you know how to find them, I think you're in compliance.
Another thing we're doing is if somebody calls in an order, we're taking everybody's phone number, regardless, so that we will know if they came here, as far as contact tracing, how to reach them.
sure.
And who to reach.
Yep. That part seems like you've got to do it. You've got to have a log of your guests coming in and an ability to contact them. All right. So, stuff like takeout service rather than tableside delivery of food is preferred. Your business is going to dictate what it dictates. Your guests are going to dictate what they want. And so, I look at that as something that you really can't manage. So focus on the things in your control to manage. Tables must be spaced a minimum of 10 feet apart. If that's the guidelines, then we're not counting chairs, we're counting tables. So that allows a couple foot barrier on either side, which brings you into that 6 foot zone, which I think is what they were probably going for. Now, members of only 2 households and 10 total people may be seated at the same table. Can you control that? No. You really can't. You can't police that. So, in my mind, I'm not advocating to break rules, believe me. So you've got to follow your own conscience for your own business. But I look at it as those people have already committed to being together. They probably traveled in the same car together. They're going to dine together, whether they are of 2 or maybe 3 households. I can't determine that. There's just no way to police it. And so, going back to, all right, I'm seating them together at a table. They arrive together. Am I still creating a safe environment overall for my guests, for my employees, and for the business? Yes. And so I would say keep moving. You've got a dining capacity of no greater than 50. Let's see. We talked about disposable menus. We're going to a chalkboard, and the QR code, I think, is what Isabel had made as well. Those are very easy to do. Most of our guests have smartphones. They just scan it, and the menu comes right up on their phone. There's nothing to throw away or print or worry about in those circumstances. So I think that's a win. Operators must maintain an easily accessible log of customers and their contact information for 30 days. We just talked about that. Managing your single-use condiments, I don't think we need to talk about that either. Now, anyone have any questions about those details so far? No. All right. The next topic I wanted to talk about with everyone is how has the process of reaching out to your furloughed employees to come back to work been? Anyone have any stories or any issues to share there?
We laid off our employees back in March, the 25th, after trying it for 10 days and not even meeting payroll. The federal government added $600 a week on top of the unemployment. I
Right.
wasn't sure if we could get all our employees back. When I told them that we were thinking about reopening, because I wanted to feel out how many we were going to lose, how many we were going to get back, whether or not I could meet the PPP guidelines, if I should bother to apply and whatever else. It's in that regard, they all wanted to come back. They said, we don't want the $600. We would rather work. We're bored. It was extremely gratifying.
Wow. I'm not thinking that that's going to always be the case. And so wanted to share with you our strategy. And that is to keep the employee at a reduced hourly, not hourly, but with reduced hours, so they can continue to collect their unemployment. The employees were overwhelmingly grateful. In general, our employees wanted to come back to work too. They wanted to be part of the process. They really care about each other. They like working. You know, it sounds like a similar scenario for you. But you know, to walk away from $30 an hour, almost $50,000 a year in some cases, to come back to an environment that might be there's some uncertainty and some uncomfortable processes to manage for your staff. I don't know if everyone is going to be excited to do that. So to reiterate what I spoke of last time, if an employee works less than 35 hours and does not exceed their base, not the 600, but the base unemployment benefit, they will continue to get it. However, once they've crossed the 50% of their base, it's reduced dollar per dollar for what they've earned that week. And so there's a little bit of managing in there to consider on both you and the employee. So that's how we think it's going to work in the interim until we're able to kind of run at full steam.
Keith, can I ask a quick question?
Please.
Do you know, is there a place in Vermont where there is a clear guideline for those kind of breakdown of hours that you know of in Vermont?
I scanned through the index or the handbook of the Vermont unemployment on the website, and I didn't see that calculation, but based on many other searches, it seems like most states are similar, not exact, but similar. And so if an employee earns somewhere between a quarter and a half, it seems to be the range for each state. If an employee earns between a quarter and a half of what their base unemployment is, nothing changes. They get their unemployment and they get their CARES Act $600 in addition.
Okay.
Once you cross that threshold, somewhere between 25 and 50% of the base, for every dollar you make at your place of employment, your base unemployment benefits go down. If you make $50 over, you get $50 less. Your net is the same, but the benefit goes down because of your earnings.
So maybe what we could do is, let me see if I can try and get find out that to share with people that information,
Yep.
because I think for restaurants particularly, that's
Yeah,
going to be
I've
really
read it,
valuable.
and to hear me just blabbing at you about it, it's tough for it to probably sink in, because there's a lot to think about there.
I did put a link to the claimant guideline handbook from Vermont in the link, but let me see if in the chat, so you can go to that and go through it, but that's definitely something. Let me see if I can get some, we'll research that so that you guys have something that you can put, because I think for restaurants particularly, that's going to be really important if you're having, bringing back sort of more staff at reduced hours, rather than bringing back, maybe if you bring back all of your staff at reduced hours versus bringing back some of your staff at full hours and leaving some on unemployment, you know what I mean? So let's see what we can find for guidance on that, and we'll share that with the restaurants, because I think that will be very important to have. So we'll track that down. Thank you.
At this point, I guess I just want to really focus on the concept of creating a safe environment. So it's very easy to really get tunnel vision and focus on a couple of different areas and not notice potentially that one of your staff members was feeling hot and just kind of took their mask off for a little while. And for someone who's enjoying their food and feeling a sense of security and safety in your establishment, and they see that, all of your efforts are out the window potentially for those guests. And so I just want to really implore you to do it all well, because you're on a hyper display for your guests on how you are creating a safe environment for them. And so there's just no room and no margin for error. So I did have takeout at a restaurant in Wilmington, and at first I saw the gal coming out with a mask on, and there seemed to be a process, and it felt good. Our order got delayed a little bit, and so she said, "Hey, I'll run it across the street to you." And so we waited, but then when she came out and came across the street to deliver it to us, she didn't have her mask on, and she did kind of come a little bit close, and it was just kind of like, oh, you were doing good, you were doing great, and now I'm feeling that little tinge of uncomfortability. And so it exists if you're not explaining the importance to your staff every shift and enrolling them in the importance, it may not happen. So your number one goal is to create a safe environment and restore confidence in your employees and your guests coming back. Certainly taking a step back to our approach to staffing, we are still not taking or tapping into our PPP, because we still don't know if we do whether we can succeed with the guidelines and have it be forgiven. So I'm not, when I say keeping people at a reduced rate or reduced people, I'm not taking advantage of the PPP approach. So I want to be clear on that. Love to open it up to any other topics, questions, clarity, help.
Lori, are you planning to open this summer, or are you waiting? Hang on, see if you can unmute.
Yep,
There you go, I gotcha.
Well, I met with Charlie, my head chef, and Alan, manager, on Wednesday, and we came up with a outside seating plan, and we need to implement some things before we could do that. So we kind of talked about a July 1 opening. not realizing that that afternoon the governor was going to allow outside seating Friday, because I thought that possibly would start June 15th. So we were caught a little surprised by that, because we definitely have things that we need to do since we've been shut since the March 16th. And so I wanted to wait and see what business levels were this weekend for people. Happy to hear that they were better than they've been, but not what it should be for Memorial Day weekend. I'm in a little bit different situation because I'm in Dover. So, summer's obviously my slow time, and I rely heavily on the mountain, traffic going to the mountain for activities, the Grand Summit being open, Grand Summit events, etc. So where I am at right now is assessing what I'm going to look at for costs upon reopening, between online ordering and touchless pay options, covering my tent structure so I can have covered outside seating, those sorts of things, before I can really evaluate when the right time is to reopen, because it's going to be really important that I have business levels that can sustain.
Lori, what's your business?
It's the Dover Forge. So I'm on Route 100, just south of 7-Eleven. Yep. Seating capacity, I have two sides to the restaurant, more of a tavern, billiard side, bar scene, which has been my summer calling. I have a backyard where currently have in the past outside seating. And that caters to the locals. And then I have a more of a upscale dining side. The tavern is capacity of inside capacity of around 90, and then the restaurant is a capacity of 140. So it's a big restaurant. So yep. Volume has mattered to me in the past. And volume in the wintertime is obviously what gets me through. Having shut down a month early and losing 3 weddings in June, I don't have a lot of nickels in the bank right now.
Yep.
So I really have to assess. I'd like to open, and I know people would like us to be open, and we're barbecue centric, Keith. That's what we do is we smoke all our own meat. So that component, if I just really stick to a barbecue centric small menu, I think would be successful. But I have to look at what those reopen costs are. So I kind of gave everybody their charge to back of the house, what you think it's going to be, front of the house, facilities, and make a decision, kind of until there's this 14-day quarantine, I'm concerned.
Say that last part again, the 14-day quarantine.
As long as the governor is asking for 14 days quarantine once you come into the state, but until that's lifted, I'm concerned if I'm going to be able to manage business levels that support the day-to-day operations.
Got it. So what you're saying is that quarantine mandate is significantly reducing travelers from coming.
Correct.
And our family of 8 ate there this winter after skiing at Mount Summit.
Oh, good. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, we did.
But we packed them in, which I'm concerned about.
It was a busy night when we were there.
Because summer for me is not about making money. It's about trying not to lose money.
Right.
So going into the summer season without being able to have events and the weddings that are what carry me versus the day-to-day business is something I really have to look closely at. And then not knowing what is going to be, am I going to be able to do 400 miles in 4 hours, which is what I do in the wintertime.
Right.
And if I have to adjust that model, then I've really got to think about
Lori, the max is 50 people outside. That's it. You can't have more than 50 people.
For now, that's
okay.
Yeah, Isabel just put in the chat some.
So it doesn't matter, Isabel, how much space you have.
Correct.
50 people max.
or your
Okay.
maximum licensed seating capacity, whichever is less.
Okay, well, obviously that's not for me.
So, yeah, so
it's
for
a
you,
huge
50.
disadvantage for,
right.
it's a huge disadvantage for large facilities.
And Isabel, where is that? Is that
I just got an
Like-
email. I'll forward it to you from the ACCD COVID-19. I asked them a question specific to cafes. How are we handled with the outdoor seating? And
that's
they
the one you
said
just
we
put?
have to. We have to follow. I just put it into the chat there.
Okay.
That's been all over the place. And the other thing about it's not quarantine, it's self-isolation. I hate when people mix those two words up. Quarantine is when you've been exposed and you have someone that you know you've been exposed to. You have to quarantine yourself. And you have to be left in a room, with nobody. But self-isolation is what the governor is saying. Self-isolation meaning that you come in and you don't go to restaurants, you don't go to stores.
Okay.
And there was one other thing that he did say. He said after 7 days, you can go get tested. And if you are negative, then your self-isolation is over.
Okay.
And I don't know, a lot of people don't know that, but that is something that he did say.
But it really does cut down on that. We're going to go to Vermont for the weekend and go eat out.
Or day traffic. I always people
Right.
coming up and mountain biking at Mount
Right.
Snow, doing the downhill
Oh, yeah.
biking, etc. I get a lot of day traffic from that.
Yep.
But what surprises me, okay, I'm in Connecticut and I'm very close to New York, the epicenter. They're so much more lenient, and Connecticut and New York, they're so much more lenient with their restrictions. It's like Connecticut, he says, we know people are going to be coming in from New York to come to our restaurants because they want to eat out for one night. We know that, and we're taking that into consideration. So I'm feeling that Governor Scott is being so uber careful because he's getting so much flack from people about allowing people to come in. But you know what, I don't know, it's scary how strict it is in Vermont. I mean, I've been out to eat weeks ago here in Connecticut, and lots of New York plates. It's, I don't know.
What I heard this weekend, just totally word on the street from retailers, was it's almost interesting that people feel uncomfortable going out to eat on the weekends with out-of-state plates, whether or not they've been here or not. So I think it's something that we can do to make people feel comfortable. I guess we need to wrap our head around, what is that? People don't want to be seen in the wrong light as, breaking the rules or whatever. So I think that's something that we need to I think that's a lot of that is messaging. So we need to really think about what that message is, and obviously I heard from businesses, no one's asking, where are you from? And where did you, how long have you been here? You're not the police of that. But it's people have been respectful, which is good. And now it's just navigating that, making them feel comfortable and feeling welcome. So it's not that we have answers at this moment, but I think that's a big project that we we'll need to work on this summer for sure.
It was just funny that every cop car stopped someone from out of state in Vermont. It was just like, we kept on saying, oh, he got another New Yorker. It was just like, they were looking at plates this weekend.
I think that I have a lot of friends that are second homeowners, and some have been coming and going on weekends, and they're trying to be very respectful. But I also think that there's a certain amount of fear factor. Oh my God, I'm from out of state and nobody wants me here, so I'm just going to stay home. So you stay in my second home. I think that exists for sure.
Right. So I wonder if there's ways that we can make sure that there's ways for people to come, if it's takeout, if it's catering to that, if it's finding ways, to wrap our head around if that works for your model, Lori, or for everyone, to say, how do we be very accommodating to that? If we understand that you're being respectful, so can we help you get our food to your house? I know Steve is delivering pizzas all over, but things like that. So I wonder, that's something also to think about. Is that possible to have the wrap and go and sort of literally be catering to that market and saying, you know, you're here for the weekend, you're welcome. We'll wrap it, we'll have it ready to go and send it home for you, kind of model to supplement that limited. And I think that's something that's marketing, right? That's
Yeah, and something that we've talked about doing, and we just have not done it. And this is maybe, as Deb Boudreau would say, is my pivot, is we've talked about barbecue to you.
Mhm.
And so it's online, and it's barbecue's a perfect package for family of 4, family of 8, take it to the lake. So that's something that, you know, that we're wrapping our heads around also.
Because I think that then you're taking that thing that's making people feel nervous and you're saying, we got you, you know, we got you, we can take care of you, we can make this work. And that may be the kind of thing that has to become part of the mix for everyone.
And we appreciate you.
Exactly. And thank you. Can we help you? How can we get food to you so that we appreciate that you're following the rules and we want to help you, you know, and encourage you to do this, you know, like, please order our food and we'll get it for you, you know? So I think that's a marketing thing that we need. Maybe we can work on as a group too, you know, have a Dover list of here's places that can do that for you. So Eric and I can work on that message. And for when
the Green Springs people are doing a wonderful job with promoting their stuff in their newsletters too. So if you could get on their list.
Who is that?
The Green Springs community.
Oh, okay.
That and also Timber Creek. I mean, I see their emails and they are really promoting, you know, local takeout.
That's a great idea, that maybe we can put a package. And if it's something that's, you know, Lori, or for Isabel, you as well, if it's a set thing, maybe that helps you to manage your, you know, being ready for that, or saying, you know, I don't know, somehow maybe just talking with them and finding out a way of grouping those orders or making a group offer kind of thing. Because then you sort of know what to expect. So that, again, like thinking of the pivot is like, well, how do we reach those groups of people that are, you know, respectfully quarantining or coming up for the weekend and respectfully staying in their home? Can we cater to them? So that's something to think about that we can do as a group here, you know, Deerfield Valley wise, right? Let me think about, I'll reach out to them. Isabel, do you have a contact for them? You can.
Who?
Green Springs.
For Green
Oh, yeah, I
Springs.
do. Diane McCormick, she does their newsletter. I'll send
Okay,
it to
great. You can,
Yeah.
that would be great, because then maybe that's something we can talk to them about. How do we have them help you
Oh, yeah.
guys? And we can put that out there and open that communication. I think that would be really useful. That sounds great. Good. We'll work on that. So do we want to think about, because we had so trouble getting people in, do we want to think about doing this for next week? I know Keith was going to be doing some one-on-one strategy calls with people to just kind of hash through some individual questions. So I think what we can do is maybe combine kind of that one-on-one with maybe having a group call in the middle of the week next week. Just
Sure.
because then we can get more people. Does that sound good for everyone? And then we will come back on the 10th kind of with a follow-up, and then maybe we can sort of continue the conversation over an email. And if we want to continue to have informal calls, you know, on a weekly basis, if that's helpful. I mean, so Keith, you wouldn't necessarily have to, you know, expect you to jump in unless you want to, but I think maybe if we kind of continue to have informal ways to talk, because I think really good ideas can come through that in ways that we can help each other and help our community, like just thinking of getting these condos to, you know who to get food from and to service them. That would be great. So let's look at next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. I'll get that out to everyone. Isabel, I admitted you to the group. Lori, I'll invite you to join the group. Steve, I'll send an invite to you and Beverly to join the group. And so I'll grab everyone whose emails that I have in my list, and I'll see what I can get from Eric, and we can just send you an invite that says it's the Deerfield Valley Restaurant Forum. And then that will be, you can just send an email and it will go to everybody. And so if you have a question, there's information you're looking for, throw it out there. Maybe somebody has that. I will also try and see if I can get that guidance on what, you know, is there any like set in stone guidance for DOL? So Steve, that's a great, I'll send that to everybody. I think that would help everybody. So thank you, Keith, for bringing that up so that people sort of know what the, you know, where they're living in that
Right.
as you're inviting employees back. I think that's really important.
And Isabel, thank you for adding on to my conversation with all the appropriate links to everything I've mentioned. That was really helpful. Thank you.
She's a web ninja.
And if we could do, I prefer the 10 o'clock meeting time, so then we can listen to Scott at 11, if that works moving forward.
It's great.
That sounds great, everyone.
Time for Cuomo now. I got to listen to Cuomo too.
Oh God, what time is
good.
Cuomo on?
Got to listen to Cuomo too.
What are we going to do when we don't have all these press conferences anymore? We'll need new hobbies. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I think this was really helpful for those that were here. I apologize for the technical difficulties. We will we'll work that out, and let's try and meet next week and then plan the week after. I'll communicate with Keith about getting information to people for maybe scheduling some one-on-one question time, because I think that will help some people to bring up questions that they have that they want answered. It's really important. So thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.